Now, a lot of people in these recent races have been going out of their way to label the Democrats as socialist and repeatedly using that term. And a lot of people, I would wager, don't know what the definition for it is. And it's very difficult to tell people you don't know what you're talking about when you see something of such a broad meaning. So, for example, by traditional terms, it's when the means of production, distribution, and exchange are owned or regulated by the community as a whole. In Marxist theory, it is the midway point between capitalism and communism. So, like I said, it's something that, because of its various meanings, does not have a true one. It's kind of this thing where it's the closest thing to alternate facts. But the reason I bring up the definitions is because if you went around and you asked most people what does socialism mean, they wouldn't be able to answer it. And they're not dumb for not being able to answer that, because if you ask a lot of people what capitalism is or communism is, they still can't figure it out. The reason that this term has found itself being used over and over and over again is because there is a desire by Republicans, at least the ones in office, to smear the Democrats as trying to create some new system. And look, there's an argument for improving the current system. Like I said, we have all these people, 76% living paycheck to paycheck, 63% unable to afford $1,000 emergency, uh, 30 million people with no health insurance. So there's plenty of holes in there that to go after and actually more for change. But the idea is that you keep the current system while making modifications, higher wages at the same time as price controls to make sure the prices don't go up when the wages do. These are all things that are actual policy specifics, and that is exactly why these quote unquote lawmakers are going out of their way to smear people of the opposing party as all being this kind of way. They want to make you think of a term that you don't know the reason, the name, you don't know the definition of, but you know it's being used in a negative connotation, and so you become fearful of voting for anything that isn't the current system or the person who's currently in office. So most Democrats, as we've been over here before, are part of the corporate establishment that Republicans are, with a couple of them being, not into the same philosophy, i.e., Sanders, Warren, O'Rourke. Just there's a group that is not into that nonsense. But what needs to be stipulated is that when you have Republicans running against even the most corporate of Democrats, they find themselves trying to smear them as being part of this far left socialist takeover that is just not true. And the term is, like I said, its definition is easily accessible, but more importantly, the actual, really what it boils down to is they want you to take them at their word during these rallies and speeches and all this other nonsense, and not actually do any of the research into a particular candidate's positions. It's this thing where people talk about, the socialist takeover, but we're not going to go into what exactly that person wants, what's their policy on healthcare, on firearms, on pretty much anything and everything. And so it turns into a thing where the closest these people can get is, oh, I heard this person say this about them. They said one thing I didn't like. I'm not going to vote for them. Socialist, whatever. So it's them getting away with being lazy and not looking into the specifics of policies, because, like I said before, Medicare for all has risen in popularity to such an extent that most Republicans support it, 57%. Ironically enough, at the same time, when I can't think of a single Republican in Congress that even gives that philosophy the time of day, and they're not objecting to it on ideological principles, but because they know that they can personally benefit from the for-profit system. It was January of last year when Bernie introduced a healthcare bill that was designed to reduce the cost of prescription drugs to that of other countries. And it was so popular, or rather, it was so bipartisan leaning, that he got, I believe, both Cruz and McCain to vote for it. And Booker, the Democrat, the one that's, trying to show out during these Kavanaugh hearings, decided to vote against it. And he voted against it because of his donations from the pharmaceutical company. So it's just a thing where any kind of proposal that's laid out by Democrats that Republicans don't like, or any campaign that's mounted against them, they charge the other person with being a socialist, so they can have a buzzword to throw out. And it's like I've compared it before. It's the modern equivalent of the Red Scare. Um, there's a lot of people who don't know the exact reason of why something is bad. They just need to hear. They just need to be told it's bad over and over. Oh, raising minimum wage is bad. Raising it is bad. Why? It's bad. Social system's terrible. Why? It's the term. And really, the wrong question is asking why. The right question is, do you not see the problems with the current system and where it would need any modifications? So, all in all, the word's current usage is probably the worst legacy of Bernie's presidential campaign when he chose to identify as a democratic socialist. And it's been used by people who don't want to go into policy specifics and like to be lazy and not give their supporters an actual reason for why their proposals are better. They speak in vague terms like, "Oh, we need to reunite America and uh, bring yourself on to Jesus," and all this other nonsense. So that's the true reason that that term is being as recurringly disposed or deployed. But thank you.